I absolutely need to stop at this time because code red means that something even more serious is going on. I think that if you ultimately feel overlooked and unheard, it's important to say that to your parents. I know this, most parents are not going to want to leave you in a place of hurting and by yourself. So it's important to let them know the weight of what you're carrying and what you're going through. Even some alternative ways to do that. If you feel like, hey, look, I've been trying to be heard, maybe showing up at the room and I'm about to ask a question and they brush me off, maybe try even writing a letter and saying, hey, look, I'm going through these types of things. Can we talk? Do whatever it is that's necessary to make sure they understand the weight of what you're carrying. I'm not saying that parents by any means shouldn't be stopping at any time that you say you need their attention. But I think understanding that a lot of times in the adult world, there are all these challenges that are coming at your parents too. And sometimes they may not understand how heavy a situation may be for you. So maybe working with them to establish code words or certain colors, or even trying to write a letter to say, hey, look, I want you to know that this is a very serious and urgent matter for me. And I believe because most parents have it in their hearts to do what's right for their children, if you establish that, that would help.
Yep, I agree with Pastor Rose said. I mean, I think that, that definitely I've seen that when you're able to write it down and just say, hey, look, these are some of the things I need to talk to you about, and let's schedule a time to do that, unless it's a 911. That way it gives the parent the time to process it. I'm not a parent, however, I am a aunt, and my niece and nephew is the love of my lives, and I'm not going to lie. One of them in particular said, I really, really need to talk to you about something. And for a minute, I kind of evaded it because I was too scared of what I was going to hear. And so it took me a while to really settle down and say, okay, I'm ready to hear what you have to say, and then listen to her. So was said earlier, sometimes we have to cut our parents some slack. And I also believe that if we ask and say, hey, look, can we have time where it's once a week that we have this healing space or this safe space that we can talk, and it's a no judgment zone, and I just need to talk to you about, what's going on and things of that nature. I think that'll help out as well. We call them family meetings back in the day. I don't know what y'all call them now, but back in the day they were family meetings and they were mandatory.
How do I know if I'm depressed or just sad? I'm 11.
So there's different types of depression. You have clinical depression, you have situational depression. And what we're finding now is that a lot of our youth are having situational depression. And what that means is situational, just what it is. It could be because of the loss of a loved one. It could be that a friendship has been severed, or just whatever's going on in the world. And so, it's okay to be sad. You can't camp out there. Feelings are okay. I'm like Drake, it's okay to be feeling. A lot of times we've been told, we need to suck it up, or, we need to just put them aside, but your feelings matter. And, we need to validate people's feelings more because it's real to them. So again, situation depression kind of happens just when, something might pop off and you might feel that way for 24 hours, or it could be maybe like, a couple of days or a week. But if you find yourself that, you're constantly depressed, then it's time to talk to someone and reach out to someone, because there can be a difference. And look, like all of us have bad days. But again, like I said, we just can't camp out there.
I think to add to that too, a lot of times sadness can be momentary. Depression is something that sustains for a bit. So whether it's attached to a situation or ongoing, if it's sustaining itself over any period of time, then that may be something to alarm you that maybe you're in depression. But sadness is something that all of us go through momentarily from time to time. Something can happen in the middle of the day that causes us to be sad. But when there is something that is sustaining and won't necessarily let up, then we need to evaluate whether or not it's depression. And so, as Anja said, situation I've been navigating is the loss of my mom. One of the things of that I had to navigate through and still do at times is depression. It's situational because of what took place, but it's sustained sadness that lets me know that it's more depression than it is something that is a momentary time of being sad. So maybe looking at it that way, something that's happening in the moment, maybe sadness, but if it's sustaining itself, it may be depression.
Yeah, and it is real. It really, really, really is. I know a lot of times people try to tell us, oh, that's just the devil. No, it's not. And this ain't no Bible study, but I'm reminded of the scripture, and I don't know what it is. Pastor Ro probably does it. It's, David was talking to himself, and he was like, "Soul, why are you so cast down?" So it's something that happens to all of us, to the best of us. And so it's just knowing how to navigate through that. And then also finding some coping skills that can maybe help us, with depression. I know for me, when I can kind of feel it, coming on, then I know that there are things that I need to do. I need to watch what I'm listening to, to watch what I'm seeing, and things like that. So that's another thing that I think we could talk about even more on how to cope when we're having depression or sadness or any kind of feelings.
Is there anyone else that would like to answer the question?
Okay, this is Vanessa, Pastor Vanessa. I think all of your feelings are important. So anytime you have a sad feeling, it's okay to express it. It doesn't have to necessarily be depression, but just those bad feelings that you have, be willing to share it with a friend or your family when you're having those bad feelings. So although it may not be depression or it's just that feeling that you're having, be willing to share that at all times.
Right. And, guys, finding a person that you trust, because we all know that, sometimes we might, share what's going on and then it might end up somewhere else. So it's always good to designate, that person that you trust. Hopefully it'd be a parent, but, it could be an aunt or uncle. It could be, someone at church, but, having that person that you trust to sit down and talk to them and say, hey, look, this is kind of how I'm feeling. And, again, like I said, just finding that person to talk to and being open and honest about what your feelings are. And to know that, your feelings matter. Like she said, they matter. Feelings are something we all go through. And a lot of times we tell people to get out of their feelings, but, feelings they're real, and it's a part of who we are. We just can't be controlled by them, but, they're real.
When I'm sad, I heard people say, go pray. I know God is real, but to be honest, that doesn't mean I'm 15.
I feel like because I'm the pastor, I have to jump in.
Right?
So here's what I would say. So I think that the challenge is sometimes people have the rhetoric that all you need to do is pray. And I think that when we think of it as one-dimensional, then that's when we set ourselves up for failure. So I'm a very big proponent of multiple things being put in place when you're navigating sometimes type of difficulty. I believe in self-care. I believe in community care, which means you're surrounded by the right people, friends, family, to help bring support into your life. I believe in therapy as care, and I believe in Christ care. So God being the center. I'm going to go to God and I'm going to pray, but I'm also going to make sure that my life is built properly in those other areas. So I'm going to tell you, I can have the most dynamic prayer life. And if I don't have self-care built into my life, I can still put myself in harmful situations, right? It relates to my emotional condition. I found, and this is something I learned over time, is that I could have a good self-care plan, and if I don't have the right community care, I still am not at my best. So I have to be surrounded properly as well. There is a taboo topic in the Black community, in the Christian community, and for me as a male, all three of those are like strikes against therapy, because a lot of me are like, I ain't sitting on no couch with a therapist. Black people don't like to do it, and believers don't like to do it. But I'm telling you, I'm in therapy every week right now because I needed it to help me in my process. And so if you're only praying, right, we know God can handle any and all things, but I think that if you look in the Word of God, the Lord shows us the importance of all of these things. If we look in the Word, we start to see why relationships are important. Relationships help to bring us nourishment and to help our emotional condition. One of the things that we saw as a result of COVID is the staying at home really became challenging, even for introverts, because people did not necessarily know how important human connection is for their overall emotional well-being and physical well-being. Some of us were physically tired because we didn't get any energy resource from people. So pray, yes, right? But make sure as you're praying, you're caring for yourself, you're in the right community of people, friends and family who can care for you. And then if you need therapy, add that in as well. Prayer changes things, but when we go to God in prayer, I believe that prayer should be directional and it should be empowering. It should not necessarily make us stagnant. So pray, yes, but do those other things too.
Anybody else?
Nobody wants to pass stuff on that.
I mean, you nailed it.
I think you summed that up pretty well.
Right?
Okay. It is so hard social distancing because of work. I see every kid spending more time with their families. My parents are always busy. How do I let them know I need their attention? I'm 13.
I think you have to be open and honest with them and just, tell them, look, I really, need to talk to you. And I think, parents, or, you know, trying their best to, you know, to make ways to connect with, you know, their kids. And, you know, like it was said earlier, it could be a code word. It could be like, look, you know, this is where I am. I really, really need to talk to you. But, you know, just like anything else, you know, you got to make it plain, and you might have to be the one to start the conversation and just say, hey, look, I need to talk to you. I need your undivided attention. And a lot of times when parents, you know, they work and they're trying to come home and get dinner on the stove and trying to get everybody with homework. So I think that, you know, telling them, you know, in advance that, you know, look, at some time today, I would like to talk to you. And then that gives them a time to kind of like settle and then situate themselves for the conversation at hand. So, you know, when it's all said and done, just make your request known and be open with your parents and let them know, hey, look, I need your ear. I need your undivided attention. And for the most parts, you know, Pastor Vanessa, you can, you know, allude to this as well. I mean, you have, you know, some amazing kids. And I think that just going to your parents and just saying, hey, look, I need to talk, would be a good start.
Why does it hurt so much to hear all lives matter in response to Black people saying Black lives matter? I'm 12.
Wait, repeat the question again. I'm sorry.
Why does it hurt so much to hear all lives matter in response to Black people saying Black lives matter? I'm 12.
I think the pain of it is that it has become a cancellation of Black Lives Matter. So when we hear all lives matter, it appears to be a direct rebuttal to Black Lives Matter. And it's so strange that people who perpetuate that narrative, when they hear Black Lives Matter, it's like for some reason they hear Black Lives Matter only instead of understanding that we won't be included in the all, you know. So the pain is real. And even in being 12, I think that you're at a period of your life where you're in discovering and probably understanding more and more the weight of certain situations. I'm looking at my own children. I have 4, and my oldest will be 12 in September. My son is 10. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and they've been in this very deep discovery of everything as it relates to their Blackness. They are very serious about it, and situations that are happening on the news are hurtful to them. So as you are discovering how society is responding to Black people and knowing you're a part of that, when you hear any aspect of society trying to cancel that out with an offsetting message, it can be painful. What I will say to you is don't let the pain pause you, but let the pain push you to making sure that you do all that you can to make that change. And a lot of times we see ourselves as one single individual and we don't believe that we can make world change on our own. But the reality is if we're all collectively moving together, we truly can make a difference. A difference doesn't have an address these days. You can make a difference from wherever you're from. So the pain is real, but don't let it pause you. Make sure that it pushes you.
Yeah, and then the other thing is that I really tried to, you know, speak the truth in love. I forgot who with the song came from. It says the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. And so the bottom line is this: it's like we all have a whole body, from the top of our head to the sole of our feet, and my whole body is important. But let me get a toothache, and the struggle is real. So what would I do if I get a toothache? I would apply most of my energy and time to healing that toothache. So until people, you know, get like, look, every part of the body, you know, matters. And, you know, right now we're hurting by a hot minute. And so it's time to apply some healing to this particular situation when it comes to Black lives. So I'm not discounting the rest of my body, but right now, you know, we're not going to be completely healed. I'm not going to be completely healed until my toothache is addressed. There are things that we have to address, and making that known to people that, you know, and until you address it, you will never be whole as a community, as a country. It's just not going to happen. And so, you know, right now we need that special attention like never before. And like I said, if I had a toothache, I would do the same thing, because if I wouldn't, then before you know it, my whole body would probably be decayed and infection and stuff like that. And that's basically what America is feeling right now. It's an infection because they have not dealt with some of the pain and hurt that has come from the oppression of our people.
Several of my friends have been killed. I'm afraid I won't live to be an adult. I'm 17.
Wait, what you said, brother?
Several of my friends have been killed. I'm afraid I won't live to be an adult. I'm 17.
So yeah, because of my lifestyle and some of the choices that I made, but some of the systemic things that happened to me, I'm not gonna tell you how old I am now. I know y'all all starting off with like, hey, my name is, this a question, and I'm 12. I ain't doing that. No offense, but but I didn't see myself being this old, and so I know how it is to be a 13 or a 12-year-old or even 17 and not think I'm gonna live to be 18. I mean, that's real. It really, really is. And so the thing that I can just tell you is that you have to see yourself getting older. I know that there's a lot of things that's pressing against you right now, but it's almost like the Bible says, write the vision and make it plain. My people perish because of lack of knowledge, and there are so many other scriptures I can tell you about that. But the bottom line is that you have to know that your life matters, and that the life that you need to save might be your own right now. And so you have to continue to believe that, what, no matter what's going on or how jacked up it is, around me, I can push past this. God has a plan for my life, and I shall live and not die and declare his works. And like I said, I'm not trying to do no Bible study, but those are the things that you have to say to encourage yourself, because your feelings are legit.
I'm Central. I'm 17 years old, and I'm totally so big imagination. So like, I just like have this weird thing of imagining my whole future through. But I think that's the kind of mindset that should be like appropriate. Well, not like to the part where you just like forget everything else, but like to the part where you gotta believe you're gonna live through. Because as long as I know that as long as I have God on my side, I can achieve anything. And I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm 17. I don't come from much. I don't have a positive role model in my life, no positive male role model. But just because that's their story, that doesn't have to be your story. You have to change and write your own story.
It's crazy because I had this conversation recently with someone, and actually a 17-year-old, and I said, speak life over your life. And that's kind of the biggest thing, and the biggest thing you can make is what is going to set you apart from your friends. And not that your friends did anything to deserve what happened or for their situation to end that way, but what can you look at and change in your life? How can you use the loss of your friends to propel your life over? And how can you use that as your motivation to keep going instead of using that as your death sentence? You can allow it to be a death sentence, you can allow it to keep you from your adulthood, or you can use that as growing pains to motivate you and push you forward.
Why do adults always say you don't know what stress is just because I'm 15?
I believe stress is relative. So what that adult is probably trying to say is, look, if you knew what my stress feels like today, you would be okay with what your stress feels like right now. But stress is relative, so if you compare stress to lifting weights, right, based upon how your body has been conditioned, it determines how much you can actually lift. And the more you stretch yourself through resistance and allowing heavier weight to be put on, and you push that up, then the more you see that you can lift. Some of those adults are saying, hey, if I was lifting that right now, that would be pretty easy for me. I still don't think that it's good as an adult to dismiss the stress of a young person, because it is relative. Then what is stressful to you now could feel overwhelming to you. But what adults probably should say a little bit more is, hey, it would be good if you learn how to work through that now. Let's figure out some ways to make that happen, because life is going to deal you some bigger things down the line, and I want you to be prepared to handle those things. So let's get you ready for this, because life is going to give you more later. And trust me, it will. Now, I will tell you that as an adult, I'm not being dismissive at all, but I know all of the adults on here would say, look, there were some things I thought I was stressed about at 15 that I'm 36 now, and I'm realizing, wait a minute, let me get that back, right? But again, stress is relative, so we shouldn't dismiss anybody's stress based on the level that you're on that could feel overwhelming to you now. Just know that life is going to take you through a series of things down the line. So mastering at the level you're on is imperative so that you'll be able to handle the larger things down the road.
Anybody else? The next question is, my parents won't talk to me because I am battling my sexuality. What do I do? I'm 17.
Your parents, what now?
My parents won't talk to me because I'm battling my sexuality. What do I do? I'm 17.
Okay, y'all coming with the stuff. Wow. Well, like I believe that there are other folk that you can talk to if you're in a youth, ministry like All Nations. There are some great, mentors and people there that really care about you. So I think that could be, a start. And I think that even going to school, and there are every school should have a licensed therapist on tap, and just being able to talk to them, to tell them what you're experiencing, what you're feeling. I think a lot of times parents are scared, and sometimes they don't know what to say. And if the parents who are on, you guys can chime in on this. I mean, because I can only imagine if a kid came and said, hey, look, I'm battling this. I know it was like back in the day, we couldn't talk about sex, and it was just like taboo. You better not talk about it, and you better not do it, because if you do it, you're gonna get pregnant and you're gonna get AIDS and things of that nature. And I think that parents just are kind of frightened to talk about some of those things because they're real. And I mean, I don't know. I need a parent to chime in now, because that's a serious conversation to have.
Go ahead.
Hey.
So first thing I would say is, I want you to know you're not alone. You're not the first person to have that battle, and you're not the last person to have that battle. And more than likely, your parents aren't wanting to talk because they don't know what to say. And a lot of times it's easier to say nothing when you don't know what to say, because you don't know the right thing to say. Sexuality is taboo, and it has been taboo in the African American community, especially in the South, especially. So you may need to find those community resources out there, and those community leaders that may understand a little better of where you are. Baton Rouge Pride has a huge support system and it's a group that just focuses on helping people through that process of when their parents weren't talking to them. And there's several other organizations as well. But they're just like you're trying to discover and find your sexuality and find yourself. Your parents are trying to understand that as well. So sometimes it may be parents and the child, and you all may need help at that time. Don't necessarily be too hard on your parents. And I know that I'm not, taking up for your parents at all, but understand that all of you are going through it together. And sometimes pulling in that for someone who's been there and understands it a little bit better may help you and your parents navigate that situation together.
My doctor said I need to break anxiety medicine, but my mom refuses to fill the prescription because she says she doesn't want to get hurt on the meds. I'm fixing it.
Ooh. Okay, somebody else can go ahead first, because I'm in my feelings on that one.
I think that it's important to continue to try to advocate to your parent about why you feel necessary, by at least helping them understand the way that what you're navigating. I know that in many cases, especially when it comes to medication that helps with the mind, it hasn't been something that the African American community has embraced well, just like we have embraced therapy well, and Christian community, because it's so strange that we look at every other organ of the body as able to be impaired, but don't necessarily look at the mind as being able to be impaired. And sometimes, even from a medication perspective, it may be necessary, especially like Tanda said earlier, when you're in a situational circumstance. I'll give you an example. So towards the end of last year, I really started having some issue with insomnia, having trouble to sleep. And the doctor prescribed some medication to me. I didn't immediately get it filled because I was like, well, let me see what I can do to help me out. Now, when my mom went in the hospital with COVID, as soon as she went in the hospital with COVID, I knew that I was going to have trouble sleeping. And I immediately asked for that prescription to be filled because I knew my body was going to be under so much stress and pressure that if I were not sleeping, I was leaving myself open to a host of different things. Since then, I've still had to maintain that prescription for a period. I don't need it every night, but on the nights I need it, I really do. And there's nothing that can help me sleep without taking that pill to help me on those nights that I need it. So I think continue advocating to your parents as you're going to that doctor. If you can continue advocating with the doctor, and you have some trusted people in your life, whether it's aunts or uncles or grandparent who you feel can help you to better explain this to your parents, maybe engaging them too. Now be careful, it's a slippery slope, make sure it's not like somebody that's gonna come attack your parents. It's probably not gonna go well, but just see if you can engage others in helping to advocate for you. And also do research. A lot of times we don't do enough research on our own, but research the medication that's being offered to you, research other people who have utilized it, research teenagers who have utilized it, because I think some of the biggest ways to overcome ignorance, and ignorance simply means I don't have knowledge, the best way to overcome that is through education. So go get the research, figure out what you can do, advocate for yourself, but also engage others that care about both you and your parents to help you in that application process, or advocacy process.
Yeah, and that's the real deal, y'all. Advocate for yourself, because I know that my first suicide attempt, they wanted me to leave the mental hospital on medication, and my parents were like, "No, you're not going to take medication. We're going to go pray. We're going to go to church. We're going to put it under the blood, and you're not going to take it because you're going to get hooked on that stuff, and then people just trying to put you on stuff, and the whole shebang." And I'm not blaming my parents. It's that they just didn't know. And like, Pastor Rose said earlier, there's a big stigma in the African American community when it comes to mental health and things of that nature. So, fast forward to years later, when it was suggested that I do get on medication, I was just like, because I had, was told by my family and by my faith community that that's not, God, and he'll heal you and things of that nature. But here's the deal. If I had blood pressure problems and the doctor told me to get on blood pressure medication, nobody would have a problem with that, or if, some other kind of ailment. But when it comes to the mind and things of that, we it's so taboo. And look, we all have brain pain. Like, we said earlier, your brain is an organ just like anything else. And when it has brain pain, it's okay to take something. Sometimes you take something that, you just might need for a minute. And sometimes some people might have to take it the rest of their lives. But, the best thing that you can do is advocate for yourself. And just educate, yourself and your family. And maybe when, whenever doctor, prescribed it, have them all come in and talk to your family and talk to you, so what the, the side effects are, if there are any, what to look for and things of that nature. So, I think that's a great approach to, when it comes to taking, medication, and there's nothing wrong with it at all.
So as a nurse practitioner, this is something that I've had to deal with quite a number of times, and I think that it is very important at this point to involve the healthcare professional, involve your doctor, make sure your doctor knows how your parents feel and how you feel. And oftentimes that healthcare professional should be leading that discussion. And before that, or as that prescription is being written, making sure that everyone in the room and everyone who's a part of this care team is on the same page about taking medicine. The decision to start medicine is a tough decision. And sometimes it can be used as kind of that long-term treatment. Sometimes it is a temporary treatment. So those are the questions to ask. Is this something that we're looking at long-term? Is this something that we're going to put on until? And make sure that it's a decision that you're willing to stick with, that your parents are willing to stick with, and that your healthcare provider is willing to go with as well. I can tell you personally, I grew up in the church. My dad is a pastor, and we're going to pray through it, and we're going to talk through it in church, and that was going to be the fix for it. And then when I got older and started going to counseling on my own and got on medicine on my own, that's kind of when my mental health started to improve. And not that I am a huge advocate, medicine not the ultimate fix for everyone, but if it is a part of your treatment, then it may be something that is worth considering. If your parents are against it, find out why. There are some medications that are more addictive than others. So if it's the addiction factor, then maybe that's something that you can discuss with the doctor and choose some stuff that's not as addictive, or choose medicines that are not as strong, and see what other treatment options you can put. With medicine alone can't be the ultimate treatment. Therapy alone sometimes isn't the ultimate treatment. Prayer alone, none of these things necessarily stand alone. Yes, I think that all of them are important and all of them have their role in that treatment plan, but making sure that you use your doctor to get that discussion. And if your parents don't trust what that doctor says, go to another one, go to another one, and go to another one until you find one that you do feel comfortable with making that final healthcare decision.
Would anybody else on the panel like to add anything? I experienced some trauma and my mom doesn't want to admit it or talk about it. What do I do to let her know it's affecting my life?
So trauma is a beast. When I was a little girl, I used to sing with Baptist Community Choir, and Dr. Valerian Smith wrote this song, and he had me sing it, and it went, I am just a child I know. Everything I am will grow. Things that hurt when I am small grows much bigger when I'm tall. And I had no idea I'd basically be singing about my life, because I didn't know for the longest what was going on with me. People used to tell me, Tanja, what the hell is wrong with you? Nobody never asked Tanja what happened to you, because there was a paradigm shift in my, in my personality. And I think that, right now, trauma is kind of being talked about like never before. Pastor Rowe and I was talking before we came on about this initiative we did called Battery Healing Circle, and it had to do with trauma and what trauma looks like, putting a name with the pain, because again, I didn't know what that was. And again, I think that, you have to really go to your parents and just say, look, I really need to talk to you. This is really affecting me. And I think that, having discussions like this and a whole lot of other things that are going on, hopefully it will open up a lot of our understanding that like trauma is real, how trauma affects the brain, what it does to the body when it goes untreated. Because, you can treat trauma and you can overcome it, but it takes work. And I'm so glad that, we're having conversations about trauma. You see a lot of people on social media, talking about losing a loved one and how that is affecting them. And I think, when those conversations are had, like, Pastor Rowe, you're doing a lot, it opens up the door for so many other people to come forth and go, you know what, I'm going through that too. That's what trauma look like. How will you handle it? How are you coping? And, again, I think it's mainstream now, and we need to just have those conversations with our parents and our friends and our family that, it is affecting my everyday life. Just like I said, it's a beast.
Okay, thank you for everyone that's joining us. Something that I've learned from this panel tonight, or something that I've taken away from it, is communication, definitely, because, something might be going on with you and like the question was that I said earlier about your parents not understanding or not being willing to listen. You just have to take the initiative to sit down with them and just communicate with them how you're feeling. And so they can understand how you feel about this, and y'all can just be on the same page.
I agree with Eric Taylor. Everything is about communication.
Yeah, I agree with Amy too, because me and my mom have this thing where we will be good at communicating, and then I have this really bad habit of like hiding my feelings, hiding everything. I just so to it, I go in the bubble kind of, I go in the defense mode, So like taking this shit, sitting down, trying to talk.
Yeah, I think, like I said, having conversations like this, is really, helping to talk about things that we normally don't know what to say or don't know what to do. I know I was in a training and someone was saying, when you don't know what to say, just ask a person, how you doing, where does it hurt, and how can I help? Bottom line, because you're the best expert of yourself. And so I think that, having those, conversations, and they're hard conversations. When you're talking about mental illness and mental health and trauma and sexuality and things of that nature, what you guys going through, it's really hard. But, I hope you wouldn't, do like the poet, Rod Wade saying, put your heart on ice. And because what'll happen is you'll eventually mask those feelings, and then all of a sudden they'll come out, in other ways. Thinking about PTSD, a person who has PTSD will fight or freeze. And so, those are real things. And I think that, just really talking to your parents, and again, y'all start the conversation and say, hey, look, we'd like to have family time where we can talk about stuff, where we can create a safe zone and, talk about our feelings. And you just have to advocate, for yourself. And I think that, parents are more open like never before, because back in the day, I'm much older than y'all. I got more birthdays than all y'all put together. And you just couldn't talk to them about anything. But I think now that's changing.
It's Central again. I think it's important to have your connection with your parents, so you can be able to talk to them more easily. Because you have that strong connection with your parents, you won't be like, you won't feel that uncomfortable to share things with them. So sure, you have a good connection.
If that is it, we would like to thank all the panel for joining us today. We would like to thank everyone who reached out with their questions. Thank you for contributing to the Happy Heart Foundation, and everyone have a nice day.
Thank y'all.
We have some people who are late, so we want to give them.
Before everybody get off, we had a few panelists that were late getting on, like myself. So I just want everyone to reintroduce yourselves or introduce yourselves, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and how they can contact you, if you can give that information.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, because I'm having a hard time trying to hear everybody. Okay, my name is Sayana Mingo, and I taught elementary school for about 16 years. I got hired on the Department of Education, so I decided to leave the classroom. And now I'm actually working in Division of Licensing, where I'm licensing childcare centers now. So it's a little different, but I need a break. I do want to say that the information that has been shared has been very informative. Ms. Tanja, you have a wealth of knowledge going on, girl.
I wish I didn't.
You do. So I just want to say that I think that you all need to keep these virtual Zoom meetings going and invite other youth to join in and have discussions, because like we were talking about earlier with just being able to address your parents. Sometimes you don't feel like you can address your parent, but you may be able to address another adult. And, that just may be a way of, being able to get yourself heard, or, if you can trust another adult, have them to talk to, your parents, or, something like that. Or whatever. But I really enjoyed it. And I do think that this is something that you guys need to keep. I would even suggest maybe once a month.
Cool. And I have a suggestion. And so this will go to the Pastor Rowe and all the other parents. You guys said some key things about, having code words and writing letters and stuff to your parents. And I think that's a great, thing to tell you guys. But I think also too, you guys could speak to parents and help parents to navigate through, talking to their kids, and, how you guys institute, family night and things of that nature. And, again, what works in somebody's home might not work in somebody else's, but I think when people are given the opportunities and given different things like, oh, I didn't think of that. Maybe I could do that. Like after, your mom went to be with the Lord, and, you said that how you sit down and you talk to your kids, but you realize your kids were going through the same things as well. And what I think parents get a lot of times, because my parents used to think I didn't hear what they were talking about. Well, I was a nosy kid, so I heard everything that was going on, even though they tried to hide it from me. And so I think with COVID and with all this civil unrest, we have to have places and spaces where we come and talk to our kids, because, the cavalry ain't coming. For real. The cavalry ain't coming. Healing starts in the house. And, and like I said, to all the other parents out there, maybe that's a good thing that we can have to kind of piggyback on this. I don't know. What do you think, Pastor Rowe? Some of the other parents.
I think that's good. A lot of parents don't know what to do or how to navigate. And sometimes we may think that by holding back even our own personal feelings that we're doing, our kids a favor, when really we need to bring them into the realities of our lives. I read something a while back that even simple things like parents getting in arguments in front of the kids apart every day, but still seeing kids getting to see the parents argue and overcome, it's healthy for the child, so that when they become an adult and they have an argument, they're not thinking, oh my God, something's wrong. My parents never argued and I am. What's wrong with me? So even with me grieving, I have been grieving out loud around my children, being very expressive. They see a lot of sadness in me, how I'm navigating, how I'm working to overcome. I'm not crazy. They're going to have to navigate this in their own lives at some point. They're navigating the loss of my grandmother, but those losses go up as you get older. And so this is helping them to know how to navigate by me talking to them. So I will do exactly what you said and do my part in helping parents understand better, and using my platforms even responsibly to bring people into dialogue of this nature. If you're part of my connected to me on social media, which I know several of you are, you see my grief process be lived out loud in front of people, even to normalize things that we have not made feel so normal. especially in the context of being a man and being a Christian and a pastor. I wear these titles that make people believe that I should be Superman. And I think by saying, look, I'm a human and navigating these emotions, I normalize a little bit more for others and show a process for how to overcome. So yeah, just what you said, we'll do that at the church, and making sure we're helping parents know how to facilitate discussion better with their children, and any platform that we have. We'll do the same. So one of the things you probably saw too, even with the current events after George Floyd, we actually had a conversation with our children on Facebook Live to let everybody come in and watch us have this dynamic conversation with them. It was very interesting. You could tell that it was live, but one point in time, my son ended up saying he wished he could go back in history and make the white people the slaves. And I said, oh Lord, we're live, But that moment let people know like this is a real conversation. And so we opened up and let people in so they could see even how we're navigating it. We didn't let ourselves know the questions ahead of time because we wanted to have a dynamic dialogue like any other parent. So we'll do our part to make sure the parents are resourced better and know how to do these things. Very good.
So this is Vanessa Smith, and I didn't really know I was an official panelist. I was just showing up to just with everybody and just let you know that we appreciate what you're doing. But one of the things that I find parents do sometimes is that we'll go to our kids and we'll say, well, what's going on with you? And they'll say, nothing, and so I as Tanya said, and we do need that open line of communication on how to break those barriers with the kids. So I think you all communicating that to the parents as well. So your voice is important. And I told someone that for a long time, I had a voice that was silent. I wasn't allowed to speak, but voice is important. And so, but a lot of times parents don't know how to get you to speak, because sometimes in between that disciplining and trying to keep the balance, they shut your voice. And so it's important to parents to understand, how can we allow you to let your voice be heard? We don't want you to just shut down and say nothing. It's going to be all right. We want to hear what you have to say. And so sometimes with my kids, it takes a little bit of tugging, to get them to say something, but we want to know how to do it better. I have a couple of other, I have another parent here. I don't know if you want to say something. I have Patricia Gamble with me.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patricia Gamble, and this was very, very intriguing and very empowering. So yes, I do agree with the young lady that this should be done more often. But I was just sharing with them that the question about stress. Parents say that you don't know what stress is, and I was looking at bullying an adult, and I've been bullied as an adult, and that's because I had no voice as a child. So when I grew up, I still did not have that voice. I did not speak out when I needed to speak up or speak out in my places of employment, which caused me to be bullied there. So it's definitely something that you need to become tactful on and have a mindset to overcome now at your age, because it is something that you could possibly see again in your future. So to recognize it and know the ways that's best for you to deal with disagreements or just being the one that sticks out, maybe some people consider you being too voiceful, causes them to become overpowering to you. So speak to your parents and speak to other peers and other community leaders. It's very important so that you can see the different mindsets and point of views to not just hunker at your ages, but at as an adult. Thank you.
So Robert Lewis, would you like to say something?
My last one. All right, well, I am Kim Clark. I am a nurse practitioner. That's my job, but I just started a primary care in the Baton Rouge community. I've been in ER medicine for 13 years now, but I've come back to primary care because it's where my heart truly is, and my heart is truly in the Baton Rouge area and really reaching the African American community, which is kind of why I'm shifting my gears and folks. First off, I just want to say to the kids and youth that participated in this, thank you from Have a Heart Foundation, but also from the parents as well, because I think a lot of these discussions need to be had. and it needs to be had more often. I don't have any biological kids, but I think I help raise a little bit everybody else's kids, and sometimes it allows me to have some interesting conversations with other children. Even this week, I held a camp at my school, Aspire Kids Camp, and the topic was matters of the heart. And one of the kids in the camp said, "This is the first time that the kids get to talk and the adults listen more. Every other camp, every other area of my life, the adults talk and the kids listen. This time, the kids are talking and the adults are listening." And I think that kind of resonated with me. And you talk, just like I told those kids, is parents don't have a guidebook on how to be a parent. It's like, this is your first time being a child, this is their first time being a parent. So sometimes you have to help your parent you, and you can make your parent a better parent to you by communicating and telling them what you need, and allowing that discussion to happen two ways. And parents also have to be receptive to those conversations. When your child comes to you and says, "This is what I need," or "This is where I feel like I'm empty," then find ways to hold those conversations with your child. And sometimes you need a extra adult somewhere to say, "Hey, you take this conversation this time." I really do believe that it takes a village, and parents get stressed, children get stressed, and sometimes it may not be mama that you have to talk to. Call up that other trustworthy adult and talk to them, and maybe help them reword that conversation to where it can be bounced back to your parent from that direction. I mean, I had to talk to another adult recently, help me with this conversation with this child, because I don't know where to go. And that's okay to have. Parents, we don't have to be the experts, and children, you're not the experts either. So sometimes, it's going to take the community, and it's going to take the village to finally figure out what needs to be done, and that's okay. I think we just all need to work together to make sure that we're providing the best resources and the best needs for the children.
And then I just want to give a shout out to everybody who's doing this, because one of the things that was told to me during the last school semester, that one of the biggest search that were on computers inside of the school is how to kill yourself. That was the number one search. And so it broke my heart, but it even broke my heart even more is that you have a lot of energy being put on schools that don't look like us. You have the schools like in Ascension Parish, they had like 8 suicides. Not 10, but 8 suicides that happened. And so they did drastic measures to deal with that, and to try to shed light on that, and to bring in hope squads and peer support and stuff like this. And so I just want you guys to know, everybody on this conversation that says you are not alone. The stuff that you have been through, we all have kind of probably been through in some shape, form, or fashion. And if you feel you can't talk to your parents, talk to your pastor, talk to your youth leader, talk to someone that you trust, because what looks like it's the end of the world really isn't. And we know that life happens, and we're not saying that what you don't go through is not legit, but suicide attempts among African-American teenagers are on the rise, and it is so imperative that we continue to have conversations like this, because we're losing a lot of our babies, and unfortunately we don't have the resources like they have, which we're trying to change that with foundations like this. So just spread the word that there is hope, and it's not over until God says it's over, and that there is hope and there is help, because it's really bad. And I was in a meeting 2 weeks ago, and they said that they are trying to position themselves to deal with suicide among our young Black kids, that they think that might be taking place in the fall, and that's real and that's sad.
Okay. Robert Williams, would you please like to say something for us? Robert? Robert Williams? We can't hear you. You talking? Robert, is he on mute? No.
He just typing like I can't hear. But I can say something.
Yeah.
But I feel like I just want everybody to know it's okay to be vulnerable. Like, you have to open up. If you want to anything, any relationship, friendship, girlfriend, boyfriend, mom, that you have to open up and be vulnerable before you can go forward or do anything. Vulnerability is like a very big thing. It's okay. Like, it's okay to open up. It's okay to have feelings. Everyone, we all have feelings.
Robert.
Hey, so I wasn't gonna say anything, but somebody did bring up suicide, and last night was a really hard night for me. So I just want kids to know that suicide is never the answer. I know that kids are experiencing some really tough times right now, and they're hurting, but there is nothing like the pain of losing someone and feeling like you were helpless and you couldn't help them. So I tell kids that tomorrow gets better, but you have to be here in order to experience that tomorrow. Last night was so hard. I felt helpless. And I don't want any other mother, any other father, uncle, brother, sister to feel that kind of pain, because the pain is just transferred to someone else. And I don't want to go to another funeral. I don't want to sit by anyone's hospital bed. If you need someone to talk to, if you're hurting that bad, call me. Suicide hurts. It hurts. So there's resources out here. Don't ever feel like you're alone. The number of people that are on this call right now lets you know that there are at least 10 people outside of your own family, 10 extra people who are willing to be there to help you. And I think that's a big thing. So just please just know that tomorrow, I promise you, it gets better. Today was my tomorrow from yesterday. Yesterday was hard for me. And the thing that pulled me was knowing that tomorrow gets better. And the only way that I can experience that tomorrow and that better, because when I tell you it was hard, it was hard. The only thing that pulled me through was knowing that tomorrow gets better. You gotta be here.
So Robert Williams' mic isn't working.
I think it's working now.
Okay.
All right. I've listened at the forum, and what I take from that is that parenting has changed a whole lot since my day. It's improved. Back in the day, children were to be seen and not heard. That was the mantra. Except when you wanted to show off to your friends and neighbors, then you have them to perform. But when it came to you with a problem or a question, no, that's the time that they should not be heard. But now I know from listening to these youngsters today and knowing who they are and what they are, who their parents are, they have a lot to say. So we parents and grandparents do more by listening rather than by speaking. And I found that it's much easier to guide and listen to and promote folks' kids than it is your own. I guess the sense of being objective is easier there. But from those experiences, you can come back and do a better job in your own home. It's been tough. It's been painful not being able to share feelings and accept feelings. And feelings are real. They're part of life. They're part of the person. And we did not understand that back in the day. We thought feelings were something that you just dealt with by yourself and go away and deal with it and come back when you're okay. That's not the case. We understand more today about trauma and what causes trauma and what effects trauma have on our daily lives and on our lives going forward. So what I have to say is that let's listen to the youth. Let's be an open vessel and listen. Communication is two-way. You can speak or you can listen. You can speak or you can listen. But you can't speak and listen at the same time. So shut your mouth, open your ears, listen, learn, then speak. I've enjoyed the day. I appreciate the invite, and I look forward to listening to more of your forum. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then anyone else like Kiana Williams?
Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? I've been having a hard time hearing. I just want to say that I think that having this panel is really, really good. I am a social worker, and I've worked with kids for a very long time. My first job started off as a crisis social worker at Capital Area, which I learned a whole lot. But since the last 5 years, I've been working in managed care, so I don't get the opportunity to work with children anymore in the capacity that I would like. It's more so of phone conversations now, and let me take phone conversations and being able to talk to someone in person is totally different. You don't really have that connection. So I like the idea of having the panel, because this also helps me with staying in tune with the younger generation and, you know, the problems that they have, and being able to express their feelings and things like that. So I just want to say that you guys did a very good job on what I could hear. I had a hard time hearing on and on, but you guys did a very good job. And I'm a twin sister, so I agree with her that I think that this should be done at least once a month.
Thank you to everybody that joined us tonight. This is the end of our Zoom call for tonight. Everybody have a safe night. God bless. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.